Alrighty, take two of the front knobs. Yeah, I recorded this and something happened, so I had to redo the whole thing. So, yay! Anyways, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and work on these front knobs themselves. I'm gonna use this just as a basic look at it. What I would really suggest, you can do a couple things here to make this work better for you. Is that you can get a better look of it, like in a different image, and see if I can find the files for you. I think I have a front knob image right here. So let's check it out. So I have these front knobs here, and what you can do is you can either make your own particular scene for it. If you want to create these, is perfectly fine. Or you want to have this as on the side, that's perfectly fine. I'm just gonna, since I have it in front of me, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to work on the off of the actual model itself, and then that way I don't have to do extra work. But like I said, it's really up to you on how you want to handle it. I'm just going to use it for the sizing of it, and then I'm going to go and work on with this particular thing. So what I'm going to do right off the bat is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my boombox root, I'm going to hide it, and then I'm going to go ahead and make a disc. Alright, so on this one we want to make sure the coordination is -Z, so that way all the normals point out this way, which is the way we want to do it. And okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to change the disc segments down to, actually we'll keep it at 4 because I liked the position where they had this one. So I'm going to keep it down to 4, make it editable. Now we're going to get rid of some of these edge loops like this one. We're going to select it and dissolve it. Select this one, and I'm going to dissolve it as well. This particular one, we'll play around with it once we get the right size to it. I'm going to select my object. I'm going to throw the invisibility on it just real fast so that we can position it a little bit in the front view and then resize it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and move it and try to get this in the middle somewhat, and then I'm going to scale down, see if I can get the right size to it. Now this is going to be this, see, right here. I mean, it was really pixelated right here because I just kind of made the JPEG pretty pixelated as well, and my show pixelated on your side because of the image is not being shown 100% in the mode. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get that set up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to strictly really work on this object itself. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select my edges again, have my disc selected, and then I'm going to get this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have, this is going to be the outer edge, and this is going to be the inner edge of the flat second layer. Okay, so I'm going to make this a little bit thinner. It's not very thick. Alright, so there's that. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my knife tool, get my loop tool out, and I'm going to make another cut. And this is going to be the cut for the actual the lip of the first layer. So I'm going to select that edge loop. I'm going to pull it up a little bit. Actually, I'm going to pull it up quite a bit so that it kind of shows up a little bit better. Alright. So then now what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple things. So we're first going to work on, if you look at this object, it does cut down this way and then it flushes out that way. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our faces. I'm going to live select, and I'm going to get all these middle faces, and I'm going to delete them out. Okay? So where this flat cut is actually going to be somewhere. If let me hide this front one. There we go. It's going to be somewhere like a fourth of the way. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my bridge tool. I'm going to go to my lines, deselect these lines. I'm going to go to my bridge tool again. And I'm going to go get this halfway point right here. I'm going to continue on making this flat right here. Alright, I did notice that there is a, last time I did this, it's twisted. There we go, that there is a 5-sided polygon. Well, if I can get this, alright. Okay, so we have that, actually I think I had a 5, I think I've closed that because of, I'll actually make a cut across that way. So what happens is that we're going to go figure out what a fourth, so I think I have one more, yep, one more. About a fourth of the way here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get our faces, and then we're going to delete these faces here, alright? You might be thinking, Mr. Wanta, that is crazy. That is crazy. Okay, so I'm going to show you why I am doing that. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my close polygon tool. First I'm going to close this one up here. I want to turn off the great quadrangles. Alright, so, and let me get rid of this so we can kind of see what's going on really. So I close that up, and now I'm going to have this hole, and I'm going to close this whole entire hole. Alright, so I want it to be, it's a pretty sharp turn. So instead of it being flat or whatever, we're going to get our knife tool out now. We're going to go to line mode, and I'm going to select right here, a spacing in between there. I'm going to cut it right there. So that's going to make this whole area flat, and we're going to go continue on with our cuts, just so that we're going to keep that 5-sided because we're going to bring it all the way across. And then what we're going to do is, in this area, we're going to cut from up here, and we're going to cut down there, so it makes a triangle. Alright? So now what this is going to make is a look like this. So it's going to be flat, and then it's going to cut up real high. Alright? Now what we need to do is we need to continue on with our geometry. So I'm going to cut from the one weird angle to the other one, and then I'm going to continue on working with the flow of this until I don't need to cut across anymore. Typically, this is going to be the last one right here. These are all going to be 4, and then we're going to do the exact same thing on the bottom. Just cutting from one vert to the next across the corresponding vert. Just going down, and then I can stop it right here. These are all quads. Okay. So that's all nice and dandy. So now what we're going to do is, there's a couple things that we can do. We're going to go ahead and we are going to go and start creating more geometry. We're going to go back a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to live select, and I'm going to select these back verts, or not verts, but sorry, faces. There we go. So I got these back faces selected. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to extrude them. I'm going to hit create caps, and I'm just going to extrude it once. All right. And then I'm just going to just kind of eyeball it to see how on the side, see how big it is. That's relatively big. I might make it a little bit bigger. So this is going to be the body of the actual object. Alright, so with that, then we have these inner faces that we're going to want to select right here. That got created. I'm going to delete those so it's more hollow. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my edge mode. I'm going to loop select all of these loops right here. I'm going to scale them down and get ready for the shape that we want for the shaft. So I'll scale them down, let's say right about there. The shaft is pretty thick for the knob, and then we're going to take these edges and I'm going to do a extrude. And what I'm going to do so that I can get my a really one-to-one extrude right there, I'm just going to hit apply. Oh, sorry, I'm just going to, sorry, that didn't work out what I want. Okay, so I'm going to make the offset to 0. I'm going to click it, and then, actually, sorry, what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this extrude, I'm going to click it and just drag it very tiny, and now I can move the mount. I'm going to put it in pretty far away so that gives us more wiggle room to worry about. This is all going to be inside the actual object itself. So now that we have that set up, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to do two things. We're going to make our 3 slices down here, and then there's this little knob right here, and we're going to do a couple loops to set up for everything. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to go do a loop for the cuts for these little objects right here. So they should be, they're not that deep, so we're going to go relatively, I have to deselect this. I have the other video too. Okay, so get my knife tool out, and I'm going to make a loop cut right here so that that's going to be the depth of the extrusions, and then I'm going to do the same thing over here as well. And I'll say I want this one to be about that deep. It's not going to be very deep. This is going to be cutting out, there's a little, like a little U dip in here. Alright, and then what we're going to do is I'm going to change from loop mode, I'm going to go to plane mode, and then I want to go from, do the XZ, and I'm going to do 2 cuts. Now what I want to do is I want to make a cut for both these, so I want to change the spacing a little bit, so okay, so that works for me. So I'm going to do a plane cut with a 0.13. I think I worked 2 the last time. Either one is going to work. Just so that I have, and I want to make sure that I try to get these in between this particular, this middle one. So you will see where you have these, that 5-sided, the engon that we created and we cut in half. I want to try to get it in between this one right here. And I might have to change the angle so I can kind of see. There we go. That's pretty good. There we go. Okay, well, that's good enough for me. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take, go to our points mode, and we're going to select these 2 verts themselves. Okay? And we're going to go ahead and we're going to scale them down a little bit, and then what we're going to do is we're going to bring them down towards the edge a little bit. Alright? And I might bring it up or down just so I can kind of round off the loop itself. So now this is creating kind of a loop to it, a little bit of roundness to it with that geometry. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my faces. I'm going to select these 4 faces, and then I'm going to extrude them in, and I'm going to extrude them. Really, we're going to do that. Okay, so turn off crate caps. Okay, so where are these staying together? All right. There we go. So I just had my maximum angle is not working with them. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to extrude just a little bit, and then I'll probably, since this is not working for me, yours probably if you extrude, you can probably extrude all the way in, but since mine was giving me some issues, I'm just going to extrude a little bit. I'm going to have these faces selected, and I'm going to bring them pretty close down to where I had this loop itself. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select these faces on the side, both of them, and I'm going to delete these faces, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go into our points mode, and we are going to select these points right here. So you're going to have 2 points right here, one, and you might have to use the live selection tool. So I have these 2 points, and you're going to weld them together. And then you're going to go same thing over here, got these 2 points right there, and then I'm going to weld them together. Now if it's a little bit harder to get that working, then what we might do is these faces that we selected, we might bring them down just so that they're just a little bit of a space between them so that we can kind of figure out what's going on. And then we can go ahead and delete these faces. Having issues with this this part this time around. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to our vert mode. Select these right there. I'm going to go and weld them, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click down just so that I can make sure that they're going to be nice and flat. Weld. I'm going to go down a little bit. We can actually meld it up. It doesn't really matter which way you want to weld it. As long as you stay consistent with the other ones. You can weld it in the middle if you wanted to as well. Alright, so now that we look at it, this is our nice little loop that we have sticking out of there. Alrighty. So okay, so what is next is that now that we got that shape to it, we're going to work on the shape of the stripes. So the way that I got this working is that I selected these edges. We'll go down and go up. This is kind of where I determined where I wanted to do the cuts for it. So it's a little bit of a distance away from it, and I'm going to make these cuts across these 2 rows of faces. But what we're going to do so that I can make sure that all my cuts are going to be pretty even, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dissolve these ones right here, and this is going to be from the edge loop that we did initially and up to the other side of the edge loop. I'm going to dissolve this so that it's going to be one flat big polygon space. But we're going to go ahead and get our knife tool. We're going to have our plane, and we want to make sure that we go up and down. So with the Y and Z, and then we're going to do 8 cuts. And I think the 0.3, it worked out pretty good for me. We just want to make sure where it is. Then what we want to do is we want to get our face mode, select these faces that are now have been created from the dissolve object. Alright. And then we're going to get our knife tool again, and we are going to kind of try to put them somewhere in between there. Alright. So now that they are there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to select this row, this row, this row, and then this row to create some divots. Alright? You can select them however you feel fit. I'm pretty fast with just picking them one by one. You can get a live selection tool that works perfectly fine as well. This is the fun part of modeling. Alright, so, and then you want to make sure. Alright, so then you also want to make sure that you are also selecting the bottom parts of the edge loop on both sides. Now that we have all those selected, that's all we have selected, we are going to go ahead and get our extrude, and we're going to just extrude these inwards a little bit. They don't have to go too deep. However deep you want them to go, that's fine. Alright, so once we have that, then we're going to go get our edge mode. And we're going to go look inside, we're going to select this one right here, and we're going to dissolve this one. Alright, and we're going to go back up to the top, and do the same for this one right there, dissolve that edge. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to clean up our geometry, get our knife out, and we're going to change to line mode with the singular, and we're just going to cut and kind of clean up the geometry. Alrighty. I typically like to go from upside in. Makes a little bit more sense for me. Yeah. Alright, that works perfectly fine. And we'll do the same thing right here. Which I think this part actually looked a lot better in this video than it did on the other one. So there we go. Alright, so now we have our knob created. So what we are going to do now is we are going to select our object, and then we're going to turn on the visibility of my boombox, and we're just going to position them now. So here's this one. Sticks out a little bit. These are knobs, so that's okay if they stick out a little bit more. They actually stick out pretty far compared to everything else on the boombox itself. Then I'm just going to reposition it somewhere in the middle of this area. Move it a little bit closer. And then I'm going to copy and paste it, and I'm going to move it over a little bit so that is on the other side. Alright, so that is it. And actually, I may think that this might be a little bit too large for, looks like they are a little bit too large, the ones that I made. So I'm going to scale it down. Actually, I'll delete this one, and I'll just scale this one down first, and then I'll get that going. So I'm going to scale it down just a little bit, so they're kind of a little bit smaller. A nice size to it. Alrighty. That's a lot nicer, a little bit smaller. And that way we can actually bring them in a little bit. You don't see too much of the backside right off the flap part of it. Okay, actually that looks pretty good. Alright. And then we're going to copy, again we're going to get our spot wherever we want it to be. I'm gonna copy and paste it, move it over, say it like right about there. That's perfectly fine. And then what we're going to do is, so we have those at, but what we need to do is we need to have there's a little bit of a round insert. So we're going to use these two, and we're going to name these correctly. So we're going to say knob, front knob, left, and we'll name this one front knob right, and then we're going to select these two. I'm going to copy and I'm going to paste them. Alright, I'm going to throw these two copies into a connect. Alright, so I'm going to use these copies as the geometry to get the boolean to cut into there. So first we're going to use that. We're going to select our connect, and we're going to use that to bring them back uniformly to the point where they are about halfway in there. At least the heads of the knobs are, and I'm going to hide these other knobs that we're actually going to use as knobs. So we have these like this. So this whole geometry is how it is going to be. So, but what we're going to do here is we're going to doctor these knobs so that this row of polygons that goes right there is going to be flat, and we're going to get rid of the shaft part. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and select the first one. We're going to get our faces mode, get my live selection. I'm going to select all of these faces on the back, just delete them. Alright, so then we're left with this. We're going to get our points, and I'm just going to pick select these because they were a little bit difficult to do live selection without selecting other options, and this is actually, believe it or not, was a lot faster because I had to at that point in time go to a wireframe mode and make sure that I didn't have things selected that I didn't want to be selected. Yada yada. At least this way I know exactly what I'm selecting. Oopsie, so I selected something odd, I believe. So I'm going to go into lines mode, just make sure. Okay, so this is all that I selected. That's good. Then that's what I want. So what I'm going to do here, really easy, is we're going to take our weld tool and we're just going to bam right in the middle. So now it's going to make that flat part in the back, and then we're going to do the exact same thing to this side over here. I'm going to go ahead and get my faces, my live selection, so I can select these faces real fast. Alright, there we go. Delete those. Missed that one, delete it. Alright, then I'm going to get to my edges mode again. Or sorry, no, my points mode. And I'm going to go ahead and select these all in a row. Alrighty. Looks like I selected something I wasn't supposed to. There we go. Selecting all of these little dots. Making sure not to select anything else. Alright, I'm going to get my weld tool, click in the middle. There we go. That is fine and dandy. I mean, like, if you really wanted to save on geometry with whatever's figuring out, but you could delete those, but I wouldn't even worry about that. So, okay, so we have these connect, and then what we're going to do is you're going to create a boolean. I already have one created, and it's going to be, I'm going to name it body front knob insert, and I'm going to take this connect, and I'm going to name this front knob connect. Alright, and I'm going to make it this item B, so now it cuts into there, and then if I make my knobs visible, I have a little cutout where those are at. Alright. Select these knobs. I'm going to throw them into the extras. then bam, we are doing pretty good. Next step that we have is to combine everything.